Hi everyone, I'm Miranda and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm filming my April book haul. I'm sorry it's a bit late again this month. I think it's such a strange time at the moment in that in some ways the days seem to be going very slowly, but the months still are flying by and I can't believe we're actually in May already. However, I did get some lovely books in April, so I'm excited to share them with you. First up, I was so thrilled to complete my Chiltern Press Jane Austen collection. I think on one of my other videos I mentioned that I still had Northanger Abbey to buy to complete my set, and now I've got it and I'm really pleased. And they just have published some really beautiful editions. You can see it close up. And I just needed Northanger Abbey to complete my Jane Austen, so I'm so pleased to have it. I'll put a link as always in the description box down below so you can check out these editions because I think they're really beautiful. So yeah, I was so thrilled to get this for myself. And then my mum actually got this book for me. I think she read a review and it just really praised it, and she got it because she thought that I would really like it. It's called Lost Children Archive by I'm not sure how you pronounce her name, but Valeria Luiselli. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, so apologies. But yes, my mum said she read this really good review of it, and it does sound really good. It says, a family in New York packs the car and sets out on a road trip. This will be the last journey they ever take together. In Central America and Mexico, thousands of children are on a journey of their own, travelling north to the US border. Not all of them will make it there. So I think this will be quite a heart-wrenching read by the sound of it, but a really important book, and I'm really pleased to read it. I'm looking forward to this. And it was longlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction, and it says it was also longlisted for the Booker Prize 2019. So yeah, I know that's had really good reviews, so I was really pleased when my mum gave it to me. This book I'm going to start reading this week. It's called Wonderland by Ginny Reddy, and Bloomsbury kindly sent me this book. I'm really looking forward to it. It's had lots of great praise for it already. It's a nature sort of memoir and all about Ginny Reddy's search for the sort of magic of nature around Britain's landscape, which sounds really interesting. So I'm excited to get this, and yeah, I'll be reading this very, very soon. This was another book that was sent to me, I think in March actually, but I forgot to include it in my March book haul, and it was published in April, so I thought I would still mention it now. It's called How Much of These Hills is Gold by C. Pam Zhang. And this again has come very highly praised. It was Virago's sort of lead debut for 2020, and it sounds very curious, like this real twist on the sort of classic American West story. It says it's set during the gold rush in a reimagined American West. Lucy and Sam, 12 and 11, are newly orphaned siblings. With their father's body on their backs, they roam an unforgiving landscape dotted with buffalo bones and tiger paw prints, searching for a place to give him a proper burial. The siblings must battle with their own memories, the illusion of the American dream, and each other. So this sounds like a real sort of adventure story as well, and an incredible tale of siblings too, and it just sounds really, really interesting. I think this sounds very original. Sometimes I think when you get sent quite a few books too, you start to notice real patterns in publishing sometimes. So when you come across something very original sounding, that's exciting. And this does sound like nothing I've ever read before. So that makes me excited to read this one. This is the proof copy, but it's now out in hardback. Then I bought this myself. It's called Untamed, Stop Pleasing, Start Living by Glennon Doyle. I came across this because it was the Reese Witherspoon book club pick last month, and well, for April, and I thought it sounded really good. It's non-fiction, and I don't actually know a lot about it, but it's been very highly praised by people like Brené Brown, who I really admire. And it just sounds like a sort of book that I think will be good for me to read right now. I think women in general have a tendency to always be negative about themselves. You know, I think we're more prone to doubt ourselves more and to not stand up for ourselves as much as we should too. And I think this is a book that I need to read right now, and I know many women have read it and have really enjoyed it and have said that it's really affected them very deeply, and the way that they kind of see themselves in the world and how they're going to be presenting themselves in the world. So I think especially now I'm in my early 30s, I think this book will really speak to me. I've had to sort of learn to be a bit tougher myself in recent years. I've learned to sort of only keep people who I feel are very supportive of me, for instance, in my friendship groups. So I think that some of what I've been noticing and feeling as a woman in my young 30s is going to be reflected a bit in this book too. So I just feel like this will be a great one for me to read right now, and I'm really excited to get to it. This was also sent to me by a publisher, by Scribe Publishing. It's called The Animals in That Country by Laura Jean McKay. It's out in June, so this is an advanced proof copy. I don't know much about this one. It sounds quite curious. On the back it says, I can see the wild in her. She looks and acts like any dog. Plays, wags, stares into my eyes with her baby browns. Does chasey catch, begs for biscuits. Then the dusk comes and she lifts her neck and howls the saddest song in all the world. And there's that wild. So I'm not quite sure exactly what this is about. It has come sort of praised from other writers. I don't know if it will really be my thing, but it sounds like it might still be worth giving a try. So yeah, I'm kind of curious about this one. This was also sent to me by a publisher, also unsolicited, but this sounds frankly a lot more my cup of tea. It sounds really interesting. It's called Heatstroke by Hazel Barkworth. And I have a feeling I've heard about this already, and yeah, I can't remember how I've heard about it, but it sounds like it could be really interesting. It says, too hot to sleep, too hot to think straight, too hot to go back. And I think it's about a young teenager that goes missing, and her teacher is a character in the book, and her teacher's daughter is this teenager's best friend. So I think there's some kind of mystery. I don't know much about it. There's not a lot, there's not much in the blurb or anything either. But I have a feeling it's going to be one of those books that once you start reading, it'll probably be quite hard to put down. And that's just the kind of book I actually feel like right now. So I'm looking forward to reading this. This is a proof copy. It's actually due out, let me see if it says, oh, on the 28th of May. So later this month. Yeah, it says, at the beginning of a stifling, sultry summer, everything shifts irrevocably when Lily doesn't come home one afternoon. Rachel is Lily's teacher, her daughter Mia is Lily's best friend. The girls are 15, almost women, still children. As Rachel becomes increasingly fixated on Lily's absence, she finds herself breaking fragile trusts and confronting impossible choices she never thought she'd face. It wasn't supposed to be like this. So yes, I'm definitely looking forward to reading Heatstroke. I think this sounds like a great summer read. This was another book that was sent to me by a publisher called Inge's War by Svenja O'Donnell. And this is a kind of memoir, part biography as well, because it's about the author's grandmother and her experiences during World War II. It's already got really good reviews. This was actually meant to come out this month, I think, but it's been postponed, so it will come out in August. So I'm really, really looking forward to getting to this. I have started it a bit already, and so far I think it's amazing. So this one is high up on my list for books coming out this summer. Then John Murray very kindly sent me this book, The Fall of the House of Byron, Scandal and Seduction in Georgian England by Emily Brand. I'm really keen to read this. I'm a bit disappointed that I haven't been able to start it yet, in fact, because I really, really want to read this one. I haven't read a biography of Byron ever, and he's definitely a person that I would love to know so much more about, because he had such a fascinating and scandalous life. But I think in some ways this is even more interesting because it's about the Byron family, and all of them really lived very scandalous lives. I mean, it really was quite a family. So I'm looking forward to reading this. It's also a very manageable size. You know, sometimes these biographies can just be so enormous, it can be a bit daunting to start one. This is really readable, so I'm really excited to get to this. I think this will be fascinating. And then this is a book I bought myself. It's called The Well-Gardened Mind, Rediscovering Nature in the Modern World by Sue Stewart-Smith. I follow Daunt Books on Instagram, and I love their bookshop. I mean, I used to go to their bookshop all the time, and I'm very much looking forward to the day when I can go back to book shopping at Daunt, because it's my favourite bookshop in London, especially the Marylebone branch, which is the biggest branch, and it's just gorgeous. But anyway, I follow them on Instagram, and they highlighted this book, and I thought it sounded really good. You know that I love sort of nature writing and memoirs, and this one is very much about the science behind why nature is so good for us and why it's so healing, especially for people who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. I think that's right, PTSD. And I think that the author was partly first inspired to go into this topic, one, because I think that she's actually a psychologist or psychiatrist herself. I think that's part of her career. And also I think that her grandfather, or possibly great-grandfather, during World War I think it's her grandfather, suffered from PTSD, and gardening really helped him after the war. And I think that partly sort of inspired her with this book as well, from what she sort of heard about his experiences. Anyway, it's come really highly praised, like Stephen Fry is raving about it, Isabella Tree, Edmund de Waal, Monty Don. So lots of praise for this one, and I'm really looking forward to reading it myself and seeing what I think of it. And then the publisher also sent me this book, Wine Girl by Victoria James, a sommelier's tale of making it in the toxic world of fine dining. This sounds really interesting. Victoria James, it says, has worked in restaurants since she was 13 years old, and she was certified as a sommelier when she was only 21, making her the youngest in the US. So she sounds like an incredible person in her own right, and I started this memoir and I was just instantly drawn into her world. And I think it's very relevant. At the beginning, at the front, they say it's the toxic world of fine dining, and you see how toxic that world can be from the very first chapter in this book. It's actually quite shocking, an encounter that she describes at the very beginning. And I think that the world of fine dining, and particularly wine, has been historically dominated by men. So her breaking into that world, not only as a woman but as a very young woman, was a very difficult thing to do. So I think this memoir will be such a fascinating read, and I'm really looking forward to getting it. And this came out this month too, so it should be available. So anyway, I'm looking forward to this one myself. And then I bought this book myself. I found a second-hand copy of it actually that I ordered, and I was really delighted with it because it looks pretty much brand new. So I was really thrilled with this one. It's called A World of Quilts by Cassandra Ellis. And I first heard about it because I have some digital back issues of Salvage magazine, which is a beautiful magazine that's all about textiles and domestic arts in terms of like embroidery and quilting and things like that. And I really loved the magazine, and my attention was very much caught by this article in one of the back issues about a certain type of quilt. And the writer was Cassandra Ellis, and they mentioned this book at the end of the article, and that just really piqued my interest. And if you've been watching my videos for a little while, then you'll know that I'm getting quite interested in quilting, and I'd like to quilt myself. And I am so delighted with this book. I'll try and film a little takeaway so that you can see it, because it's really beautiful. This was the quilt that captured my interest in the Salvage magazine. It's called the Strippy quilt, and it just looks really, really gorgeous. And there are so many interesting designs, quilt designs in this book, as well as the history behind some of these traditional quilts. And I'm so interested always in the history of quilting, so that's partly why I'm really enjoying reading this already, and also finding it very inspiring. So yes, I was so thrilled to get this, and I've been really enjoying looking at this a lot this month. And then another book that came out in April, which was actually sent to me at the end of March, but I didn't get to include it in my book haul for March, so I thought I'd tell you about it now because it just was published in April. And that's Oats in the North, Wheat from the South, The History of British Baking, Savoury and Sweet by Regular Isewin. I love Regular. I've interviewed her on my podcast, Tea and Tattle, twice. Years ago when her sort of first British cookbook, Pride and Pudding, came out, which is the history of British puddings, and that's a lovely book. And then I just interviewed her again recently on my podcast all about this book. But this is so beautiful. I know lots of us have been enjoying baking whilst we've been in lockdown, and if you need some baking inspiration, then I really recommend this one. It's absolutely stunning. The photographs, I mean, Regular is such a talented photographer. I think that she's amazing, and the recipes look so good too. There are lots of traditional British recipes. I was pleased to see Dorset apple cake, for instance, lardy cake, all kinds of traditional British treats, and Regular has described some of the history behind them too. So I so recommend this book. It really is a joy to look at as well as to bake from. And yeah, Regular is such a great personality. She's the kind of almost Mary Berry equivalent in the Great British Bake Off in Belgium, because she's part of the sort of Flemish equivalent of the Great British Bake Off in Belgium. And yeah, I love her recipes, and this is a gorgeous book, so I really recommend it. But anyway, that was my April book haul. I hope you've enjoyed learning about some of the books that I've got this month. Let me know what books you've been buying. in April, and if you like the look of any of the books I've mentioned in this video. But I also always love hearing what you've been buying, so do let me know all of your bookish news, and give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and please do subscribe to my channel, which you can do by clicking my face that pops up around here. But I'll be back again very soon with another video, and I just want to wish you all a wonderful May and a new month too. But I'll be back again very soon. Bye!